Imagine being told that the best way to fix Zimbabwe's political divisions is to pause democracy. Yes, you heard me right. To suspend elections in the name of national unity. That is exactly the direction that is being pushed by the so-called Breaking Barriers Initiative, or BBI, as I'm going to refer to it in this episode, which is a parliamentary project that is claiming to detoxify Zimbabwe's politics and fast-track Zimbabwe to Vision 2030. This document, this project, it deceives to sound patriotic, but what it does in reality, or what it is in reality, is that it is a very, very dangerous political experiment, one that could erase the people's right to choose their own leaders, and with the result of cementing power in the hands of a very few. But today's episode, it doesn't start with the document itself. It's going to start with what is happening right now, yesterday. So just a couple of weeks ago, at the National People's Conference, ZANU-PF reaffirmed resolution number 1, their intent to amend the constitution and extend Emmerson Mnangagwa's term of office beyond its legal limit. Now, they are quite literally hell-bent on mutilating the 2013 constitution. And the moment resistance seemed to organize itself and start to emerge in an organized form, violence in form of arson and abduction followed. So just after midnight yesterday, SAPES Trust in Belgravia is in Harare, a very respected police institute known for open debate, it was petrol bombed. The attack came hours before it was due to host a media conference by pro-democracy activists opposing ZANU-PF's plan to extend Emmerson Mnangagwa's rule. According to SAPES Director Dr. Ibo Mandaz, he said unidentified men threw petrol bombs, abducted the night guard. Thank God he has soon been released, and even locked the gate with new keys. So by morning, the seminar room, the symbol of civics discourse in Zimbabwe, was completely and entirely gutted. Mandaza, earlier in the day, he had actually said that the press conference scheduled for 11 a.m. will proceed as planned. That was after the fire had gutted down the venue. And the plan was to nevertheless continue with the conference on the ashes of the destruction and in full view of the world. But police later sealed off the venue, calling it a crime scene, and that effectively blocked the same press conference. Outside the gates, former Finance Minister Tendai Biti, he spoke to reporters and he said, "This is not about politics. It's a non-partisan, non-political effort to defend the constitution." And of course, yes, this represents everyone's interests. Even people in ZANU-PF themselves, they have interests in making sure that the constitution is not mutilated. They may not know it, but a few of those that are, what can I say? A few of them that understand things, how things must work, how things must operate. We already know that the vice president is not in support of this move. Probably he even demonstrated this by way of absenting himself from the sworn presentation by the president later during the day at Parliament. So this is not about politics. It's a non-partisan, non-political effort which is meant to defend the constitution. So this is not about ZANU-PF as the opposition, and that was Tendai Biti's words. It is about whether Zimbabwe's constitution still matters or whether it's another obstacle to be rewritten by the corrupt elites. And that brings us straight back to the Breaking Barriers Initiative the so-called National Dialogue Platform. That now looks suspiciously like it's part of the same project. So reading through the Breaking Barriers initiative or document, it was very nauseating for me, I must say. The longest short read I have ever had in a very long time. Because line after line, you can feel a plot unfolding. A handful of elites trying to hoodwink a whole nation into accepting something that does not make any sense whatsoever. It's clearly a project that is designed, crafted, and marketed to look like a people's plan, when in truth, it's a top-down political blueprint to keep power concentrated. So just like the narrative that the people want ED to remain in office until 2030, that's not public demand, that's elite fabrication. No one wants that. Even ZANU-PF, I think it happened before our eyes. We heard them. Oh, when this thing goes up there, when it comes to referendum, you must vote that we want the president to continue. We know the words were put in them, and they have no input in all of this. And we know the ZANU-PF supporters, they are a muted people. They have no voice of their own. That's the caliber of the people that really support ZANU-PF, the majority of them at least. So the question becomes, by suspending elections to accommodate a president who isn't even popular, do we suddenly become united? Or are we simply surrendering accountability under the banner of unity? Because even the Reserve Bank and Treasury, they mirror this mentality, making decisions without stakeholder consultation. Because when you properly do consultation on this initiative, and this goes to a referendum that they are so hell-bent on trying to avoid, it's going to be an emphatic no to 2030. And they know this. Even the president, he knows this. Because even the previous election, the last election of 2023, no one even knows by how many votes did President Emerson Mnangagwa won. No one knows. Which is so much suspicious that did he even win the election? Because probably the math is not meeting. And probably it's a lot of work to fabricate them and release the numbers. Maybe they'll be caught in those numbers. The lies will be caught in those numbers. So they can't go for a referendum. That's one thing for sure. That cannot happen. So it's not even... So the example that I'm using of the Treasury and the RBZ is something that I came to realize, okay, we knew about this all along. It has been an issue within the stakeholders in the country to say they do not consult us when they come up with their policies. So what I want to say here is that it's not a financial issue. It's an anti-transparency issue as a state policy. So each and every ministry, each and every department within the state, they've also adopted this. No one consult with anyone. People just make decisions. But this is a decision that cannot be allowed to happen. The constitution needs to be protected. It's best for everyone that happens, because when you mutilate the constitution today, what then happens? And ED himself must be wiser than this. What about you? What about you? What about you change the constitution to benefit you, but then maybe you die before just after the constitution has been amended? What kind of a country are you then living after you have done that? So this is very, I must say, very, very, very disappointing. And the fact that Sengezo Chavangu is being used to move the BBI is there in the document is written. That Sengezo Chavangu is going to move the motion, and Puprai Togarepi is going to second the motion. So Puprai Togarepi is the chief whip of ZANU-PF in parliament. So when Senges Chavangu must move the motion in Parliament, and that confirms what analysts have warned from the start when Chavangu imaged that he is just a political creation. And the creation of Chavangu has been a part of a very long game that was meant to reach or to get us exactly to this moment. This has been designed for a long time, and we are dealing, or the country is dealing with the people that schemes a lot, and they scheme to deceive everyone else except themselves. Because the BBI, it claims that it will fix disputed elections and help Zimbabwe reach the upper mid to income status by 2030. That sounds noble. Who wouldn't want peaceful election, politics and progress? But if you read between the lines, the plan includes an omnibus constitutional amendment bill supposedly from the people. An omnibus bill means multiple constitutional changes at once, often unrelated, but buried in fine print. So in theory, that sounds participatory, but in practice, it's performative because everything has already been drafted by the consultative organization, by the consultant and the organization Shikamu that drafted this bill. There will be the implementing agents. Ordinary citizens themselves are supposed to apply online for outreach meetings in a country where most rural communities have no smartphones, no internet, and low digital literacy. That is not inclusion, that is exclusion by design. It is democracy on paper, dictatorship in practice. That's exactly what it is. Now, here's the argument that they use. They say elections divide the nation. They cause conflict and sanctions. Let's pause them until we find common ground. That may sound patriotic, like I said earlier on, but it is profoundly undemocratic. Because what is democracy without elections? Democracy hinges on elections. It's a contradiction without elections. You can't talk of democracy when there are no elections. Free, fair, regularly conducted elections. That's the heartbeat of democracy. That's the heartbeat of consent. So once you suspend them, even temporarily, what you do is you are creating a system where power is maintained by convenience, not by consent. And history is a warning for us. Uganda in the 1970s, Egypt in the 2020s, in the 2010s. Every time that democracy is paused for reform, it never truly returns. Jonathan Moyo, what did he say? ZANU-PF cannot reform itself out of power. What happens beyond this if it succeeds? And to make things worse, the BBI, it labels dissent as toxic discourse. Just read it. It's very nauseating. No one can ever enjoy reading such piece of trash, such piece of rubbish. But disagreement is not toxicity. It's democracy in action. That's how democracy functions. You disagree. That's why you've got the ruling party and you've got the opposition part. Opposition. Just by that word, literally, what does that tell you? They are supposed to oppose whatever you suggest. And in political theory, what we know is that is going to ignite a discussion. And after discussing what you come up with a better idea. That's the whole purpose of democracy. You do not manufacture your own opposition through Chavangu. An opposition that does not oppose anything, everything that comes out from ZANU-PF, they say yes. In a country which is regressing. Forget what they tell you about the fastest growing economy in Southern Africa. Shit. Shush. We also what happened yesterday. Parliament was using a generator because they couldn't rely on ZESA. They have bad experience with ZESA. Power went off when the president was giving an address. And they had to hire a generator to do that yesterday. And yesterday was 20th October 2025. And the same thing happened again. Whatever problem there was, we don't know. I think they said there was a breaker which tripped something like that. And then, yeah. But that is exactly the description of the country that we have. That is exactly what the president has given to the country. Darkness. Darkness to the people. Darkness to the industries. Darkness everywhere. So disagreements, they are not toxicity. It's a democracy in action. Silencing dissent in the name of unity does not heal divisions. But why does it? It actually cements division. So if the goal was genuinely to fix disputed elections, here is what real reform looks like. Number one, we know the problems in Zimbabwe. What you need to do is make the Zimbabwe Election Commission fully independent, free from political interference. Fix the voters' roll, make it public, auditable, and transparent. Guarantee equal media access, no more state broadcaster bias. Impose term limits for politicians, for judges, and commissioners alike. Empower civil society. Don't criminalize it. It's many. We can list them until we write the proper book on what Zimbabwe needs to be done. It's known. It's nothing new. It's nothing no one has ever done anywhere else. And it's even there in the constitution. Just respect the constitution and you'll see things will work for Zimbabwe. The constitution is so robust. We have got one of the most modern constitutions you can ever have in the world. Just implement it. Simple. And we won't have these problems, toxicity, what, they will never exist. So instead, the BBI wants to hand out prizes, smartphones and cars to participants in its so-called AI-driven outreach. That's not civics engagement, is it? You are already gamifying the process. That's propaganda gamified. And the amount media outreach strategy, it feels like Jeva Fu in a remix of early 2000s land reform propaganda. This time, it's now borrowing John F. Kennedy's famous quote, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country is there in the document. That's how they want to frame it. In the early 2000s, I was young back then. I was quite young. But the one thing that I really hated watching from the TV was those in between adverts. Like you are watching Studio 263 and all of a sudden, after every 3 minutes or 5 minutes, now we have a song. Ai kurikwedu machembere, ai pururu zampururu. Oh, it drove me nuts. Eish. Damn. It was meant to socialize us politically, but it actually achieved the opposite. But thank God, because of the technological developments now, we have got platforms like this one. We have got platforms that they can't control. We have got platforms that they don't regulate, where we expose all their dirty games. So, when they say, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, as if the country has ever done anything for anyone. ZANU-PF has never done anything for anyone. Even when they did land reform, don't be fooled. It was a power game. It was a power move. Okay, I'm not going to unpack that for the purposes of this episode. In Zimbabwe, when they say, don't ask what your country should do for you, but what you can do for your country, what it really means is ask not why your government failed. No, ask not why your government has failed, but just help you to stay in power. That's all it means in Zimbabwe. Supporters of the BBI, they say we are not suspending democracy, we are redefining it to suit our context. But democracy, ladies and gentlemen, is not a Western export. It's a universal principle built on accountability. It's built on transparency. It's built on public participation. All values that are enshrined in Section 3 of our Constitution. And we have been practicing democracy in Zimbabwe before the white people came to Zimbabwe. Kumaruzeva kwedu kuti nemadare manisu. Everyone participates except women, of course. Varume vese, we go to a dare. Whatever issues, we discuss them and we come up with consensus. We have been doing this for years, for ages, for centuries. We have been doing that. So it's not a Western ideology. I heard this guy Richard, forgot the name, but I know he's a director in the Ministry of Information. He was speaking on the SABC. I think it's SABC. And suggesting that democracy is a Western system, that may not work for us. Come on, stop it. It hurts so much also when some people that you may think they are young and they are smart and they are well read and they are also joining the grave train. I mean, driving propaganda. Like where is the party even going? Where is the party going? Because you are going to expect a party that can be true to itself. Where the intellectuals from within the party, they would say, this is not the way to go. Just like Patrick Chinamasa last year, in that conference in Bulawayo, when he said it's an impossibility to extend the term of the president. That's what you expect. They have to be genuine to themselves. To say, guys, this cannot work. And while it doesn't work, is it even the best for the party? It's not even the best for the party. It's only for a few people that stands to benefit, the people that are benefiting today. You know all of them by names. It didn't start today, and they're not ready to let that go. Because the economy is bad, so they can't go into the economy and find money from the economy. The economy is bad. The only way they can make money is by capturing the state. So we have come to a place as a country which is correctly described in political science theory by a theory which is called state liability theory. The state itself has become a liability. And that is a very dangerous position to be as a country. That is a very dangerous position to be in the country. And that is also cemented. I heard another business person who was saying, we don't really make money, we only break even. And you hope to get a government tender. When you get a government tender, that's when you can actually get a profit. That's a dangerous position to be as a country. You see what is happening, or what happened in Nigeria with Boko Haram. It is described with that theory. State liability theory is the state that makes money. So the only way you can get money is by capturing the state. And everyone wants the piece of that cake. Okay, with time, I think we will find time to unpack this properly. But that's exactly where we are as a country. So they can't leave. So they are not ready to let Emerson Mnangagwa leave. Because when Mnangagwa leaves, that's the end of them also. Whatever they have looted, they can't invest it in the economy because the economy is a very deep hole. You can't extract anything in that economy. There you can't invest. The only thing that you can do is extract minerals, your gold, whatever minerals, and then you sell. And it's a bit convenient business to do in Zimbabwe because you know when you export it, you get forex. Democracy, ladies and gentlemen, it belongs to all its people, not just those in parliament. They can't decide because the BBI, it suggests that the parliament is supposed to do the constitutional amendments. But in democracy, that's not how it works. The parliamentarians, they cannot extend the term of the president or their term. Not only from legal terms, I'm not a legal expert, so I will leave that to lawyers, but from a political science perspective, Parliament cannot do that because their power is not power of their own, it's delegated power. They were given that power by the people. And that power was given to them with specific mandates. And those specific mandates, it does not include extending their own tenure or the tenure of the president. They cannot do that. This is from a political science perspective, it's an impossibility. And thank God in political science, it's nothing to do with interpretations or what. It's straight up. It belongs to everyone, not just those in the party. And certainly not those who define criticism as toxic. So the Breaking Barriers Initiative says it wants to detoxify politics, but politics is not toxic. What's toxic is power without accountability, and that's exactly what they want. You don't build unity by suspending elections. You build it by delivering justice, by delivering jobs, by delivering social services. You do not propagandize your way to progress. You govern your way there. Zimbabwe doesn't need fewer elections. It needs freer elections. It needs fair elections. It needs credible elections. Because when you pause democracy in the name of peace, you are not serving the nation. You are serving the powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Statesman Podcast. I am Nelson Machka, your host, reminding you that democracy isn't a privilege granted by the state. It's a right end defended and practiced by the people. Let's not pause on democracy. Let's fix it together in the open through elections Zimbabweans can finally believe in. Thank you so much. See you next time.